Hi everybody, this is the Baseball Hut, the amazing, spectacular, terrific, the great one, the People's Champion. Yo, host the Hut, welcome back to the Baseball Hut, and hope you like this video. Smash that subscribe button. So we're back here, and we're just ramping up spring training, and we're going to get some battles. A lot of spring training notes today on Tuesday, and next week we'll have the full camps and the pitchers and catchers next week. It's going to be really great, and hopefully we'll get word that the Mets have re-signed Pete Alonso. It has not been made official yet, but that should be, because they put out the rosters today for camp, but his name was not on it yet. But I'm assuming it's going to be on there. I haven't seen anything else different. Can you imagine if it didn't happen, or he failed his physical? Oh my God. But no, that didn't happen. But here's from SNY, and they go through some of the notes of what's going on with the Mets. Some interesting takes by Carlos Mendoza. Headline: Mets spring training notes. Brett Baty is second base option. Carlos Mendoza talks roster battles. Plus nuggets on Jet Williams, Luis Angel Acuna, Ronnie Mauricio, and more. Mets manager Carlos Mendoza had his first news conference on spring training on Tuesday, and is chock full of key updates and information. The second base plan, which includes Brett Baty, with Francisco Lindor at shortstop and Pete Alonso back, meaning Mark Vientos will stay at third base instead of sliding across the diamond, which I think is a good idea. Just based on, I don't want to see Mark Vientos having essentially his sophomore year trying to repeat what he did offensively, where everyone's going to be gunning for him, all his pitchers are going to be going after him, and not have a veteran right-handed hitter to take a lot of the pressure off of him. That's one of the things that I was concerned about with the Mets not having re-signed Pete, but now that Pete's back, we don't have to worry about that. He doesn't have to have that kind of pressure. And I didn't want to put him at first, not having really solidified himself as an everyday hitter. The Mets have one infield spot that is at least a bit undecided as camp begins. Mendoza would not declare Jeff McNeil to start at second base, which is interesting, because Jeff can play the outfield. That's the one thing about Jeff. But strongly hinted it was his job to lose, and that Jeff is pretty much right there as far as being the regular at second. However, there will be lots of different players getting reps at second base in camp, including Brett Baty and Luis Angel Acuna, who both also get time at third base. Now, Luis Angel, he can play second. We saw enough of him last year. He's a very competent shortstop, and he has a leg up on all these guys for the very simple fact that he can play shortstop. So the Mets come into camp with a young player. He will be the guy, when they get up on March 26th, he will be the guy that will be the backup shortstop. That's the one thing that has not been resolved here. It's who the backup shortstop is. Last year was Joey Wendell coming out of camp. That was a disaster. But including Brett Baty and Luis Angel Acuna, who both also get time at third base. Now, a couple of things about Brett Baty. Like I said, he's never played second, really. And we'll get a chance to see how he's able to perform. He's played in the minor leagues, but not in front of too many people. So we'll get a chance to see him. Hopefully he doesn't catch a ball with his face like he did 2 years ago with that pop-up against the Dodgers on Sunday Night Baseball. And Luis Angel Acuna has not played third base in the major leagues. I don't know how many games he has played in the minors. Probably not too many. But that'll be interesting. But I would mention he is vertically challenged. Nothing get bad against him, but that's the one thing I'd like to have a tall third baseman. So he'll be learning third on the fly, but he's got good hands, he's got a good arm. Jet Williams also gets some time at second base in addition to the outfield. So Mendy said today that he's probably going to play in the center field, which is probably his future spot. And he is the Mets, as close of an everyday player who's as close as an elite as you can get. Mets don't have any elite prospects, but there is one. He might be it. Speaking about base specifically, Mendoza said that while he might play some outfield during the spring, he would mainly be on the infield. Interesting. We're going to keep him in the dirt as much as possible. We're going to give him some exposure at second base as well. This is a position where when he went down to AAA, he played a lot. We want to see it ourselves. I wonder, and the Mets thought about playing him at first. I know they talked about him getting some reps before they re-sign Pete. But I wonder if they're gonna actually play him at first, too. If Baty is able to handle second base in addition to third base and perhaps corner outfield, he could be in the mix for one of the final spots on the bench. But the competition there will include Nick Madrigal, who Mendoza said will get some looks at shortstop during camp. If Madrigal can handle it, that could give him an inside track as a backup infielder. Since it means unless they carry Kuhn, you wouldn't have another player on the roster capable of backing up Lindor. That is a problem. Okay? That's why I don't think people thinking about this. I think about this stuff. That's why Jose Iglesias, losing him is kind of an issue. I would mention no one has picked him up. No one has signed him. And he is 35 years old. So that's the one thing about Iglesias. I'd rather go with Madrigal, who's a younger guy. And all these guys are younger than Iglesias, but he is a winning player. Which spots are for the taking? Mendoza highlighted the bullpen, the utility infield role, and the rotation as things that aren't fully defined. Okay? In the pen, it's likely that 6 spots are already filled as long as everyone is healthy. More on that in a bit. Which would leave 1 or 2 slots open in the competition that would include, Sean Reed Foley coming back. Hopefully he can stay healthy. I always say, because you never know he's going to fall apart. Tyler Zuber, Danny Young, and others. Now, Tyler Zuber is an interesting case because the Mets traded for him in July from the Rays. And he wasn't in minor league system. He had been playing with the Long Island Ducks, who's part of the sort of that relationship. The Atlantic League has a relationship with Major League Baseball, and he was with the Ducks, and then he signed with the Braves, and then he traded to the Mets. As far as the utility infielder, Madrigal is perhaps the most sensible option given his versatility, but it really is more of a third baseman, second baseman. So that's a little iffy. Then there's the rotation, which has 5 locks: Shomanaya, Kodai Senga, pending health, Clay Holmes, Frankie Montas, and David Peterson. But room for more. That's because a 6-man rotation is in the plan. Kodai Senga said on Tuesday after arriving at camp that he's not worried at all about his health following a 2024 season that was mostly lost. It was all lost due to injuries. Mendoza said that if Senga remains healthy, there's a good chance the plan will be able to use a 6-man rotation. We got options. We got depth, Mendoza said. It's fair to believe that the main competitors for the 6th spot in the rotation will be Paul Blackburn, Griffin Canning, and Tyler McGill, the latter of whom will be stretched out to start and is not viewed as an immediate option for the bullpen. That's probably a smart thing. I don't think he's a reliever. His brother was a good reliever, but he is not. He is not. And Griffin Canning, keep an eye on him. The word was quietly that the Mets look at him as a possibility of being an ace. He was a number 1 pick from the Angels. The Angels were very high on him, but the Angels are not very good at developing players. And they're not very good at developing pitchers in particular. So he feels, and from what has been said at camp, he was very much intrigued by the Mets pitching lab and what they could do for him. And obviously the Mets had success last year with Shomanaya in particular, with Louis, and be able to keep Luis Severino on the field. So keep an eye on Griffin Canning in spring training. That's a guy, I don't know if I don't say this, but he's a guy I would keep an eye on. Paul Blackburn, you take him or leave him, in my opinion. Later on in the season, possible top pitching prospect Brad Sprout could be a rotation option. Well, we'll see on that. We'll see with him. I don't want to rush him. Jose Butto will be a reliever. Not part of the aforementioned rotation battle, Butto, who will work as a reliever, with the idea being for him to be able to throw around 40 to 45 pitches per outing if needed, Mendoza said. So basically, he's the long man. You know, if the Mets are being killed in a game or a pitcher gets knocked out, he'll probably go 2-3 innings. Butto was a serious weapon for the Mets last season, a 2.55 ERA and 1.06 WHIP at 74 innings. Now, here's the thing about Butto, which I find very fascinating. He was a prospect in the Mets system for many, many years. And in the last 2-3 years before he got called up, he just struggled in AAA. Completely struggled in AAA with his control, with his not being able to pitch well. Then the Mets called him up, and we saw his first start. It was against the Phillies in 2022. It was a disaster. And I'm like, this guy stinks. And we saw him in 23. This guy's not, but he pitched so well the second half of 23, and he pitched so well last year. I mean, you could do anything with him. You could put him in the bullpen, have him be a long man. You can have him close the game out if you have to. And, of course, you can have him start. So he's got a lot of versatility here. Article continues, he appeared to be retired a bit late in the season and into the postseason. But when entire spring training to prepare to be a full-time reliever, he should hopefully be able to navigate it a bit easier. That's the one thing that the Mets lost from 22 to 23 was Trevor Williams. So he could be the Mets' new version of Trevor Williams. With Buto expected to be in the bullpen, he should join a group that includes Edwin Diaz. Okay, I expect him to have a big year this year. It's 2 years after the surgery on his knee. He has an option. I've said this in many videos. He has an option after the season. So he can bow out. And David Stearns will not give him a long-term deal like he got that he got from Billy Epler. And he will let him walk. Because he traded Josh Hader before he became a free agent, and he traded and of course after he left, the Brewers traded Devin Williams a year before they were free agents. So if Edwin has a big year, the Mets have a big year, and he's looking for a 5-year deal, he's gonna be gone. And they'll have to scramble to find somebody. But within this group, he will find a reliever that'll close these games out. I can guarantee you that. This is David Stearns. It could be Nunez, it could be Buto, but just keep that in mind. That'll be the next drama for next offseason. Also in this group of pitchers in the bullpen, A.J. Minter was a lefty. They said he should be ready for spring training. He's a guy that had hip surgery in the offseason. A very good reliever. Reed Garrett, who makes me nervous, but he pitched really well. He's another success story from the Mets pitching lab. Ryan Stanek with the long hair and everything else pitched really well. He's a real horse, not afraid. And to Daniel Nunez, who the Mets sorely needed and missed in postseason. And he's another guy, another success story of the Mets pitching lab. Finally, health updates on Ronnie Mauricio and A.J. Minter. We talked about Minter already. Mauricio's running fielding grounders and taking batting practice, but the expectation is that he won't be playing in spring training games until the middle of March. So that's another month from now, 5 weeks from now. That doesn't surprise me. The infield hasn't played a game since tearing his ACL playing winter ball last offseason. And since he likely won't play until spring training is nearly over, it's almost certain he'll start the season in the minors. That's a pretty obvious thing. I know a lot of people have been clamoring for him to start right away. He's not played. And his recovery from that knee injury has been slow. He's been a slow healer. So, and it'll be interesting to watch him play, because the one thing that I was very surprised about was how fast he is, how fast he was. And it will be interesting to see how his ability to move has been hampered, if it has been. So that's something that we all have to keep an eye on. I'll keep an eye on if I think that there's an issue, but and I'll let you know about that. One thing about this channel, about what I do here, is I'm ahead of the game with everything when it comes to analyzing the players and what's going on here. So that's why you have to subscribe to this channel. But I thank you for watching this video. Of course, please subscribe to the Baseball Hut, and I'll see you later.